Welcome back to The Real Recovery Show. We air every Friday at noon, and we are so excited about all the feedback that we've been getting. It's been pretty amazing. Every time I start talking to people like, wait a minute, you're that person that's on that show. It's really crazy. Or people that I didn't even think were watching it are telling me about episodes that they've been watching that I wouldn't even think they would be interested in because there's so many topics, right? So very, very exciting. If you ever want to be on a show, you can go up to The Real Recovery Show on themeetingspace.com and fill out an intake form. Or if you want to recommend somebody, you could do that as well. Or just contact us through the meetingspace.com website. So today's episode is an episode on addiction, alcoholism, food addiction. It's interesting because in our society, oftentimes the most acceptable of all the addictions is food addiction. Even though you can grow up in a family where everybody drinks, or in your job, everybody drinks or does drugs or whatever, and there's so much partying going on. Food addiction usually is interwoven in it, and if people are doing more alcohol than necessarily getting into the food, you wouldn't necessarily point to it as a problem. Sometimes we just think that our society is really just focused on using things to feel better and to celebrate so much. The quick fix, the fast food restaurants, everything, that it's just so normal, right? And then the person that ends up focusing on, getting healthy and taking care of themselves, like that's so extra. That's so wow. That person must have a lot of time on their hands, or the money to be able to pay for a really good fitness coach or something. And I don't know. It's kind of weird how we've gotten to a place in our society where we think like that health is a luxury. We think of getting older as getting sicker, and that the body's just going to wear out, and we're just going to end up getting illnesses. And I don't know. I have had illnesses from when I was a little girl, and I've also had a multitude of addictions from when I was a little girl. As I got older, they got more involved, and I guess I'm blessed to have recognized that it's not just when you get older, it's not just when your body doesn't let you get away with stuff anymore, that the need to take care of yourself is always there. It's just the fact that we were able to get away with drinking or get away with doing drugs without seemingly having any really big repercussions doesn't mean that we're living our best life and giving ourselves our best chance to have the best health and happiness. And same thing with food addiction. We rationalize everybody eats, everybody goes out, everybody we have holidays that are totally food-centered, and it's just, it's interesting because I used to think that people who really, took care of themselves in the way that I even take care of myself today, like these people are neurotic, like lighten up, have fun, and but not everybody has food addiction, and there's varying levels of using food in a way that's not healthy, right? There's the person that doesn't even use it to feel better or anything. They just have no information on how to really take care of themselves, or mixed information from, this camp says no carbs, and this camp says no fat, and this camp says eat just grapefruit, and this camp says take these pills, and this camp says get that surgery, and yada, yada, yada. And, you just needed this supplement. That was the game changer, just whatever. And so whatever we do, whether it's a certain type of diet, a certain type of exercise program, we do need to recognize where our mind is at in the spectrum of it all, whether or not we're coming from any addiction perspective of needing to using food for a reason other than it was intended. Because shocking as it was to me, food, while it could be very enjoyable and very tasty, and it could seem to be the thing that brings people together, or at least, makes a relative not be offended if you don't eat their food and everything. It's really for nutrition and it's really for sustenance and it's for energy, and it's so the body has everything it needs to keep up with you and to rebuild stuff and to mitigate and prevent all of the health problems that we think that when you get to a certain age you're going to have. Sometimes we look and we'll go to a doctor and they'll say, okay, fill out this form, and what diseases run in your family? Who has cancer, who has heart disease, who has diabetes, etc. And the risk is to believe that because they had it, you're going to have it, or you're going to have it, you're more likely to have it. And while there is a risk, of course, people are genetically different, and it's important to know how our bodies are. It's almost like it's being treated as if, that person died, my dad died at this age, so I got to watch out and stuff like that. And while I feel like it's healthy to be mindful of, more reasons to be health focused, whatever it takes for us to, make the decision to be more health focused. There are things that I have family members that ended up with certain situations that I feel like I would have ended up with for sure if I ate the way they ate and lived the way they lived. And I had my own health problems, and for sure I was going to end up having worse, not better. It wasn't, self-medicating with food was not going to be fixing the long-term stuff. It was going to be adding more problems to it. So oftentimes in our society, people will get diagnosed with things, and whether it's anything from, more and more children being diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, to child obesity being at an incredible, it's an epidemic, to, girls starving themselves based on what they think that they need to look like so that they could be accepted in their self-esteem, to people giving up and just eating and hiding in that because they're afraid of being raped, or they're afraid of unwanted attention in other ways. And it goes on and on. People getting type 2 diabetes, which is, if you don't know the difference, type 1 is the one you're born with, type 2, the one you can be born with. Type 2 is the one, it's called adult onset. And it could really happen just from your body getting exhausted from what you're doing to it, from how you're eating, your stress, etc. And there's heart disease, joint problems. I've known people who have had to have surgery, knee surgery, and not a doctor, but he was 400 pounds, and I pretty am sure that if he was genetically predisposed to having that risk to having knee issues, it wouldn't have necessarily been that bad if he didn't have that much weight on them. That's my opinion. Take what you like and leave the rest. But then there's also breathing issues, asthma, sleep apnea. One of the ways that we heal asthma is still a very old school way. It is to exercise. But if you're overweight and you're in your food addiction, or you're in your I don't care addiction, and you're just doing that, you're not necessarily going to be able to put on a pair of sneakers and just go for a run without it being uber uncomfortable. And at least it was for me when I was really overweight. It's very hard to be motivated to run when everything in my body was bouncing and I felt exhausted. But you can get asthma. And most of the diagnosis of sleep apnea are actually from people who have too much weight on the front of their body. And the weight is making it so that they can't breathe. And so oftentimes when somebody gets diagnosed with sleep apnea, they get a CPAP machine. And please lose weight. And people go, the CPAP machine, that's the answer. And the lose weight kind of fades off. So circulation issues, digestive issues, eating when you're not hungry, when your body's not prepared for the food you're giving it too much food, acid reflux, because you're eating right before bed and you're just having a very big, hard to digest meal. The things that we do, allergies, inflammation. People think that they're allergic to something in the air, and they might be, but they might be more prone to it because they're just... because they're eating things that are inflammatories for themselves, and they need to learn this. And so food is a really important topic. It's something that if you think that it doesn't apply to you, it applies to everybody in some way, shape, or form. You don't have to be a food addict, per se, to have some misinformation on how to take care of yourself, especially if you grew up in a house like I did, where food is a big deal, whatever your culture is. There's a lot of people become alcoholics or have food addiction or both because of just modeling what they grew up with and learning food portions and food behaviors from the people that they lived with, and I am no exception to that. Both of my parents were very overweight. I used to joke that I come from a very big family with very few people in it, and everybody had food stuff, everybody. And not just my parents, but like when you look at the family tree, there was all kinds of addiction, alcohol, pills, workaholism, everything, but food was like the main one. Like it had flowers on every freaking branch. Everybody had something, almost everybody. And God, it's just so crazy how acceptable it is to just eat for pleasure, that and it's not to say, and this is the thing, like when you decide you want to you're ready to make a change and you make your incremental changes. Sometimes we make too many changes too fast and we scare ourselves and go back to our behaviors before. But it's not to say that when you eat healthy, it's not going to taste good. It's funny what has happened because I believed that when I went to eat more raw food, to eat more fruits and vegetables, etc., I thought that's going to be too sweet. I'm not going to want that. I'm going to want this. I'm going to want that. And we're so adjusted and we're so acclimated to the high levels of sodium and false imitation sweeteners and chemicals in our food that are designed to get us to want more and to keep inciting that craving, that food can seem like it's bland when we start eating it in its more natural states. But something amazing happens. That the body goes, oh, okay, that's what we're doing, and it adapts to that too, but it starts to recognize, oh, it's easier to digest this. I'm getting what I need without all this other stuff that she's giving me, or he. And now, and everything changes. Taste buds start to come back, and man, like food's alive for me now. Healthy foods is alive for me now. I crave it. I salivate properly now for the right things, and I promise you, I never would have thought that before. So today's episode is about that. It's not judgmental at all because we all have something. We all have some story that has something to do with food in it. And whether or not you are somebody who is in recovery or wanting to be in recovery, and you also have like an alcohol issue or a drug issue, I love that saying. That is actually in almost all the 12-step programs, that first things first. So when somebody goes to a 12-step program or they go to Alcoholics Anonymous, they're really going to go and they're going to focus on their alcohol addiction, their food, their drug addiction in Narcotics Anonymous, or sometimes Alcoholics Anonymous, a lot of times Alcoholics Anonymous, or any program where the thing that's eating their lunch, pun intended, needs to be dealt with first. But a lot of times, people will go and they will face and abstain from having any alcohol and drugs, And that is so necessary, and so necessary not to try to solve all the things in one day. Like, it's recommended to not quit smoking when you're quitting all the things, unless you really feel like you could do that. But, to each their own. But take one thing at a time. Take the thing that is egregious first, and eating your lunch, and move on down as you get more recovery in all the things that you're doing. And sometimes it'll be books you'll read that are helpful, and sometimes it'll be therapists or programs, or sometimes 12-step programs, whatever. But I've also found that I have the meeting space. It has 115 meetings a week, all a variety of programs, most of which are 12-step. And they all use the same 12 steps for the different addictions and afflictions, even codependency or emotions. There's different 12-step programs for everything. But I've also found that a lot of the people who attend the 12-step programs specifically geared towards alcohol and drugs could end up doing one or both. They could end up starting to smoke cigarettes, or if they already were smoking cigarettes, smoke more. And we're going to do an episode in the near future on quitting smoking and vaping, but also getting into the food. And in the beginning, I heard that they used to put chocolate on the tables in the early days of Alcoholics Anonymous to help with cravings, and to help the brain and body, balance coming off of alcohol. But after a while, people either start to recognize that, okay, now they're feeling intuitively, now it's time to do something about the food, because now the food's gotten a little much or whatever, or they quit smoking. And since smoking is a natural appetite suppressant, it's a nicotinic receptor in the brain, and there's an actual thing that happens, but it suppresses your appetite. And so when people go, okay, enough is enough, and they want to stop smoking, sometimes they get into the food. Now, an argument can be made for, oh, well, isn't that just switching addictions? Is anybody really healing? People are healing. It's just that there's, as you're going and you're really facing the cause and condition inside that's going on, sometimes we have deeper things that are going on, and PTSD sometimes, and also programming on what's okay and not okay. And like I said before, using food to self-medicate. Like in my family, when people had a feeling, they were in the fridge. I did the same thing. I was in the fridge. I was in the cabinet. I could still catch myself doing that, and then I have to ask myself why I'm here, to really make sure that I'm there for the right reasons. Because the programming, it's there. It's there telling you, I could fix your feeling. I could fix this right now. I could give you the energy. I could give you the brain. I could give you the calmness. You just need to eat something. And it very much mimics hunger, but it's not. And to really be able to learn that. And this is an evolution. This is over time, as we go through our recovery and we question our things, we'll find more will be revealed. And so wherever you're at, there you're at. Bloom where you're planted. I'm where I'm at, blooming where I'm planted. Tomorrow I'll learn something new, and maybe I'll have a better grip on whatever. But it is something to be mindful of, is that as you're in recovery, if you had food addiction already that maybe you knew about, it may get a little worse. I may not. I don't know, right? I don't know. But if you start to feel like, okay, I'm pretty stable in my abstinence from drugs and alcohol, I feel like I could tackle this next thing, that it's going to bring up more feelings. It's going to bring up more stuff. And when it does, good, because if it's coming up, it's on its way out. And to have a very solution-oriented recovery mindset about that. There are a lot of programs for food specifically even. There's Overeaters Anonymous, there's Compulsive Eaters Anonymous, and there's Food Addicts Anonymous, anorexics and bulimics. There are several meetings there's anorexics and bulimics meeting at the meeting space currently. A lot of the food addiction meetings went to Zoom, and so there's a really great amount of recovery up there for people who on Zoom to check out, because a lot of times it's more accessible for people who are either mentally or physically from food addiction. So today's topic is about that, like wherever you're at. Maybe you got a diagnosis from a doctor and maybe you didn't. Maybe you don't fit into your clothes and you wish you did. Maybe you've tried to take care of this in the ways that you already knew about, or the new diet or the new pill or the whatever. Or maybe you've given up. And maybe you just want really good tools. I mean, obviously, we have to do the work on cause and condition, on what's going on with us. It's not what you're eating necessarily, but what's eating you. And then get to a place where I'm 51 years old, so that's from a book from when I was like a kid in the 70s. So anyway, Hero is worth more than a sandwich. It was a book back then. But anyway, but really also find out what your body's like. Find out what really works for you. It's quite possible that you've been applying physically tools to yourself that don't work and setting yourself up for failure, and then shame, and then believing that, you can't do anything about it, and, giving up. And so for me, I had to find out the diet that worked for me. And for our guest today, she had to find out what worked for her. So Angie Jordan has a BS in community health and is a certified health coach from the School of Integrative Nutrition. She has been sober from alcohol since August 16th of 1985, which, I'm not going to make you do the math, is 37 years. And she's also had food addiction. And so she's going to share about her childhood. She's going to share about growing up like that. And she's going to share about when she got into recovery. And right about then, we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about what she found as her solution to helping her abstain and get healthy from food addiction. So, Angie?
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for having me here today. Thank you for this opportunity. And yes, my food addiction, and especially my addiction, when I got sober, I thought that was all I was going to do. Mm-hmm. Just don't drink, go to meetings or whatever you're going to do, and you're done, right? Mm-hmm. But no, that is it. Then I found out I had all these other issues. And it was like the whack-a-mole that we talked about. You hit one, finally you think you got them down, another one pops up. And it was no different with food. And it was years later, I just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and doing what I do. And I found that food was my friend as a little girl. Mm. It helped stuff down these feelings and keep them down, this pain and this hurt, because there was no one to talk to in my family what was going on. Number one, we didn't know what it was. We didn't know that it was alcoholism. We didn't know any of this.
Right.
But I remember as a little girl, my mother giving me bag of cookies, and saying, hide them from me, and don't tell me where they're at. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, she'd wake me up, So my mother and I shared this, all right? And my mother had the solution for me at 11 years old. She came to me with little black beauties, speed. And so we're going to take this and we're going to lose weight and we're going to clean the house. Well, I cleaned the house for 3 days, And I found out I loved that feeling. I loved that, and I loved how it made me feel, and I didn't think about food. Let me just say this. I'm 69 years old.
Wow.
And I have spent my entire life worrying about food, when I'm going to eat, what it's going to do to me, what kind of food to eat. What are you eating? Yeah. I want to know what food is like. Oh, you went to a wedding? What did they have to eat?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I want to know. I remember my mom calling me the pancake queen. At 6 years old, I learned how to make pancakes for myself. And I loved them. I loved anything with white flour, white sugar. I'd steal candy bars out of the bar. I was raised in a bar. We had a nightclub in Austintown, Ohio. And I would steal candy from other places, drugstores, wherever I could get my hands on it. I loved the way I didn't know it at the time, but looking back, I loved the way it lifted me up out of my mood, and then dropped me down. And then coma. I can go to bed, I can sleep. So I was always chasing that, up and down and weight. And even the diet itself was, I went to Tops. Oh, what are they going to do there? Tops, you know. And I went with my mother. And then we went to places like Dr., well, I won't say his name, in Ohio. But he gave us all these little pills, all blue, take 3 at lunch. And I loved that. I loved chemically inducing myself, you know. 25 years old, I was 215 pounds, and I went to a, am I allowed to say what it is? I don't know, but Weight Watchers?
Yeah.
Okay, I went to Weight Watchers, and I did well then. And this was in the 70s, and this was when they had the real strict, low-carb. It's not like it is now.
Yeah.
But I did that, and boy, I got down to, did you?
Yeah.
And I got down to 128 pounds and 25 years old, and woo, I was hot.
Yeah.
All right? And I finally arrived for the first time in my life. And boy, I'll tell you. But, you know, time comes, kids, everything creeps back up. So I'm always fighting with food.
Yeah.
And I'm not only just the food, but what it makes me feel like. You know, I could be so successful in so many areas of my life, but I couldn't be successful with food. I couldn't keep the weight off.
Yeah.
I would yo-yo. I'd go up. I'd go down. I would do whatever I had to do to try. Laxatives.
Yeah. Oh, I
my.
did that too.
Did you do that too?
They actually had chocolate laxatives.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Ugh.
yeah. And
I can't believe I did that.
yes,
So nasty.
and water pills to
Yep.
get rid of the bloat. My
Diuretics.
mother would give me water pills, and she'd say, "Here, Touch, take these. It'll make your face look thinner."
Yeah.
And all kind of crazy, just to make me nuts, make myself nuts. It's almost like, okay, I'm sober. Now, how else can I hurt me?
Yeah.
What can I do to hurt myself more? And you spoke a lot about nicotine and smoking. Well, I smoke 2 packs a day. And then I found out later in years that cigarettes themselves are laced with sugar.
Oh, you know, I didn't know
They
that.
cure them. They
Oh,
cure
really?
the tobacco with sugar.
Oh, my God.
Alcohol, 97% sugar. So when we put down the drink, that's why the donuts are at those meetings,
Right.
and the candy and the
Right.
all that, and we want all that. And something to make me feel different. I can't stand the way I feel sober.
Yeah.
That goes against everything that we are taught or we think, when we drink.
Did you also have that empty feeling, like if you didn't have food in you, that you felt empty and that you wanted to use food to feel full because it kind of mimicked, I don't know, feeling like you had everything that you needed or something that...
I don't know if it mimicked that for me, but I'll tell you what, I never wanted to be hungry.
Yeah.
I think because both my parents were alcoholic and addicts, and I think when I was a little girl, I was hungry.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stand that feeling to be hungry. And I was hungry for more
Yeah,
than just food.
for sure.
I'm hungry for love. Will you
Yeah.
love me now? If I do this, will you love me now?
Right.
How about now? You know, and food, when it would calm all those places.
Yeah.
Till finally I got to the place where I don't care if you love me or not.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat this, and I kept getting bigger and
Yeah.
bigger and bigger. And of course, looking back at it now, I don't remember at the time knowing that I'm doing that. But looking back, I can see those are all the ways. You know, all my journaling and things that I have had to look at
Yeah.
myself, it all comes up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it did for me also. And going to school, learning about health, learning about my own nutrition, learning about my own issues all around this food,
Right.
all right? It helped me to connect the dots and put the pieces. I really believe since my journey began 37 years ago, it's almost like my higher power giving me one little piece of the
Yeah.
puzzle
At a
as
time.
I could handle it. Because it's too much.
Exactly.
If I would have known all this, I don't think you'd be talking to someone different right now, all right?
I don't think we
wouldn't
could
be
have
here.
handled it. I mean, the very
couldn't
fact
have.
that we were self-medicating with food, we never learned the tools that maybe, you know, at that time, at those ages that we could have learned, but also they weren't available. I mean, sure, they were books, but you can't really relate to a book. You're a child, you're a teenager, you're living your life.
That's right.
All the other people are doing whatever, and, you know, it's just... And I you know, in listening to you, there were so many things that I thought were the right way of being or normal, and it was just stuff that everybody
Absolutely.
did.
Everything that I thought was normal was abnormal.
Right?
Everything that I thought was true was untrue.
Right.
And it was the journey of
Yes.
1,000 miles,
Yeah.
thousands and thousands, one step at a time,
Yeah.
unraveling, unknotting, untying. This is why so many people, they don't make it.
Yeah. I think, though, that, you know, for me, I think that if you look at the healing journey as this, you know, unsurmountable thing, and oh my God, like this sounds like a lot. What's the point of doing this? I might as well give up. You know, what's the point of feeling those feelings and facing those things? Like I might as well just eat. I might as well just drink because I mean I'm this age and da 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 and whatever.
Or, God forbid, they pull the trigger
Yeah.
and they leave the planet.
Yeah.
This is why we lose so many people
You know,
in
even
recovery.
if people are not killing themselves that way, they're killing themselves with addiction, and it's like
What's
like
at the end of your fork
For
will
sure.
either heal you or kill you.
I agree.
And I had all kind of ways of harming myself. I didn't deserve. I wasn't worthy of what am I going to be like if I get to my goal weight?
Right.
You know, who's going to want me? Who's
Right.
going to not want me?
Right.
It was always for the wrong reasons.
Right. I'm going to be so good. I'm going to be so happy. If I could just get to the weight that I need to be, everything will work out.
And
I'll
then
have
he'll
all
love
the
me.
things.
Oh,
But then you lose
he'll-
weight and you start to realize it's not going to be that, and you go, screw it then. I'm just going to go back to the food then. You know, you have a
Absolutely.
bad date or a bad situation, an argument with somebody, something happens at work, and you go, why am I doing all this then? But you know something? The attitude that happens in recovery is that initially it's like, oh, I have to do this. And then something starts to shift because incrementally, as Angie was saying, you have one little piece at a time and you deal with one piece at a time. And on the other side of that is more freedom, more self-knowledge, more insight, more empowerment that you go, man, and then you do more and you heal more and you have more freedom and things aren't affecting you as much and you're starting to feel more like balanced and
I love
healthier.
what you said about shift, because that's what happened to me. I can't tell you the day or the
Right.
time, but things started to shift,
Yeah.
to turn.
You were ready.
And I'm ready. And when the pupil's ready, all the teachers appear.
Yep.
And that's how it was for me.
Absolutely.
And then I'd get another little piece of the puzzle and
Mm-hmm.
another little piece and put that together. One day at a time. One moment at a time.
One
2
thing at a
steps
time.
forward,
Yep.
3 steps back. 5 steps forward, 10 steps back. All were necessary.
Yeah.
I love to win. I love to take those steps forward.
Me too.
I love looking good. I don't like the backward steps.
Yeah.
I don't like to look foolish.
Yeah.
I don't want to gain that 50 pounds back,
Right.
which I do.
Yeah.
Okay? And I don't want to do all. But you know what taught me the most about me? Mm-hmm. And started that shift? It was those steps backwards.
Yeah. And they're not even backwards. You know, they're like deeper. They're steps deeper because, you know, we heal certain things and we have a certain now new level of empowerment and freedom, and those are legitimate. But then more now has the room to come up, and other things, classes in session, and I don't know. I just fell in love with the process of it, and I'm like a junkie, so I look at it like this: man, there must be an amazing aha on the other side of this, and whatever I'm going through, this too shall pass. It's all temporary, and it's all for a purpose. So if I'm doing the next right thing, if I'm sincerely wanting to know what's going on with me, if I'm sincerely doing the things that I feel are going to be giving me the best chance, and if I slip and I do a thing, it's information. It allows me to go, oh, there's something else here. What else could be going on? Rather than browbeat myself and spend a whole bunch of time, you know, in shame, because if I go to shame, I go to food. Like, forget that.
And it starts talking to you.
It does.
It talks to you in your ear. You can't do this.
Yeah.
You're a fraud.
Please.
They're going to find out about you.
Who do you
They're
think you
gonna
are?
Yeah, who do you know, and you're always going to be fat. And what is that
Yeah,
voice?
your genetics. I swear, this is so true. Because I did joke that I had a big family with very few people in it. And so I believed I was big boned. I promise you, I believed I was big boned. My sister is like thinner than me, and like for a while I thought maybe I'm adopted. And I went to her and I said, Michelle, I said, we're different. What works for you is not going to work for me because I'm big boned. You're not big boned. Look at your wrists, look at your whatever. And she goes, Lisa, you're not big boned. Where are you getting this from? And I really wanted to defend it, like bringing like some sort of like medical proof that this is an actual thing. And yeah, people's bones are a little bit bigger, but not like I thought. And so I was like, okay. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm not. And just that little idea, that one idea, when that shifted,
yes,
more freedom. Like
more
maybe
freedom.
I'm not. Maybe I could. And you know what else I did? I'll say this, and then we're going to go to a break. So I was almost 200 pounds, and I prayed. I said, "Oh, please, I'm a pupil. I'm ready for teachers. I'm like, please, please, please." Like Angie was saying, and I'm ready for a solution. And so I felt my higher power do this to me. So I usually ask, okay, you know, so I'm so spiritual, right? What would you like me to wear today? And I would go, and he'd be like, I want you to wear those jeans. Those jeans don't fit me. Wear them. Oh, they're gonna make me uncomfortable. They're gonna hurt me. This pinching. But they fit me before, right? So I was like, why are you making me wear these jeans? I know this sounds a little foo-foo, but this is what happened. So then I'm like, okay. I was avoiding mirrors. I wouldn't look at the mirror. If I had to put makeup on, I would look at just quickly whatever I need to do and then look away. I wouldn't even look at myself, right? So a lot of it was just denial. I wore black spandex all the time.
Yeah.
I wear it some of the time now, but I wore it all the time. Everybody knew I wore black spandex all the time because I was trying to like get away with what I was doing and not actually like admit to myself this was an issue. But really, I really believed that was who I am. And I had maybe well-meaning people in my life. Maybe I don't know what the motivation was, but they would go, oh, Lisa, you're so beautiful. It looks good on you. You're curvy. And it's, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so somebody was traveling. She was moving out of state, and we were giving her a going away party. And this girl was gorgeous and perfect looking, and all of her friends were gorgeous and perfect looking. And I don't know why, but somehow this voice came out of me that said, "I'll throw you a party." And so I threw her a party because I cared about her, but. She had to take selfies, and she had to take selfies of all of us. And I was like mortified. And she posted them on Facebook, and she tagged me. And this was back, like I couldn't. This was years before the meeting space in the recovery store. But like I had to like gently untag myself off these pictures, and I was humiliated. But I wasn't humiliated because of the picture. I was humiliated because I was like having to have that wake up call that this was what was happening. And then finally I said, show me what's possible, because I don't really whatever. And so I got this intuition to tell me, and it was in the meditation, and it was brilliant. It said, I want you to go online and I want you to look at all the before and after pictures, where the before picture looks like you look right now. And look for real ones. Don't look for all those airbrushed ones. Just really look for real people who are losing weight, right? And what they look like after. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I started a folder on my computer, and I'm all geeking out on this, and I'm literally scouring the internet, and I'm pulling down all these pictures of before and after. And I swear, I was in shock that some of the people in their after pictures actually fit in the body that was the before picture. Like, it was like, that's insane to me. Are you sure? Like, is that really the same person? You know how you do that? You like zoom in. Is that really the person? And I just collected so many pictures that became my motivation folder, that when I would tell myself that this is just genetic, this is just who I look like, this is how my body is, I'm, whatever, that I would see people from all walks of life doing all kinds of different things and losing weight, and that's what they looked like. And it just gave me hope. So when we come back from the break, we're gonna talk more, and we're gonna ask questions, and we're gonna learn all about what Angie found to really help her. So anyway, the opinions expressed here, of course, are strictly those of the people who gave them, and they don't represent any 12-step program or should replace your own intuition or professional medical advice. See you in a bit. Welcome back to The Real Recovery Show. Remember, you can watch us on Facebook, YouTube, and on Amazon Fire TV. You can listen to us on the PHLB radio app, or you can get our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or iHeartRadio. And if you like to just keep it consistent, you can go to themeetingspace.com, and all of the episodes get posted every week. Like I said, they air every Friday at noon. Sometimes we're live, sometimes we're not, and sometimes we pre-record. But definitely go up, and you can watch all the episodes, link to them, send them to people. Please help us get the word out even more. It's been quite amazing so far, the feedback, as we dive deep into all these different topics, talking to real people with real stories and real recovery. Okay, so now we're back with Angie Jordan, and she's going to talk about how she discovered the tool that she ended up using, and explain about it and what she does with people to help them also use it.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Yes, I would first like to let you know I moved out here in 2016 to Las Vegas. Okay. I moved out here because my son and I have 3 grandchildren out here, and I wanted to be with them. Okay. So I was retired, and I moved out here, and I was about 211 pounds, 215 up and down.
How tall are you?
5'4". Okay. And like about a size 14, 16, tight 14. And those stretchy,
they stretch, yeah.
And those stretchy black
the
pants.
Stretchy changes it.
All, my mother would say, all you need is a black pair of pants, and then just dress it up with different tops.
Right.
And that's what I did, you know. But when I moved out here is when I really got scared, because I would come out to Vegas and it was, the buffets were on, okay? And I knew where all the good places to eat because I'd come visit my son.
Right.
So when I moved out here, I got really scared because I was busting out as it was. And I didn't know what I was going to do next.
Right.
And that's when I got into recovery from my food addiction. And I stopped eating sugar and white flour. And that's all I did. All right? Breakfast, lunch, dinner. But I didn't have those 2 items. And I started to lose weight. And it was the year of 2020 then. I was not at my goal because I would do the dance,
Right.
you know, the yo-yo
The
and
lose
that.
weight, to put it back on. the
Yeah,
lose weight,
but
to
I'm
put it
not
back on.
eating sugar,
Right.
so leave me alone,
Right.
you know. And crazy, just crazy, another crazy avenue to go down. So it's 2020, April 19th, and I hear about intermittent fasting. And I don't know exactly how I fell over it. I was Googling, and this one name came up, Jen Stevens.
Okay.
And she had a new book out, and it was everything on Facebook, and I heard all about it, and it was called Delay, Don't Deny. And I thought, well, that sounds promising. That sounds like something new. And so I read it from cover to cover when I got it.
Okay.
And that's where I began. And April 19th was my first day with intermittent fasting. Now, she talked about a clean fast, which means just coffee and water until you open your window. I like the idea of this because it's like, it wasn't don't eat this, don't eat that. It's eat when your window's open.
And so the window
Stop
would be
when your window closes.
The window would be the period of time when you're eating.
Right.
Okay.
And then you close your window.
Okay.
And with everything I've been through, that was something that sounded doable. And I'm not denying myself. I'm
Right.
just delaying it a little bit.
Okay.
All right? So that's where I started to begin. And I became very frustrated real quick with this because I expected the weight to just fall off me, all right? And it wasn't. And that's when I started to really start looking more at the science
Okay.
and realizing we're all chemically different.
Yeah.
And I have hurt my body so much
Right.
with the up and down, the yo-yo. And there was people online and groups that I was talking to, women that have gone before me, and they were saying it might take anywhere up to 6 months to see the scale change.
Yeah, because the body's freaked out. It's
That's
like,
right.
uh-oh, what is she doing? What
That's
is this
right.
coffee
Here
and
she
water
goes
now?
again.
No, it has to be able to trust that the mind is doing the right thing again, that it's actually going to, the food will be there.
I just kept plugging through even though I saw no change outwardly. But something was happening, and they talk about this,
Yeah.
happening to you on the inside
Right.
with that visceral fat
Yeah.
that goes in between your organs. This is what causes type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
And I had type 2. And when I was in Ohio, and I was on different medications,
Yeah.
2 different medications. And I thought, this is going to be my life.
Right.
And this was right before I moved to Vegas. And this is why I was so afraid. I
Right.
thought, I am not going to live my life like this.
Right.
I'm getting older, and I'm in my 60s, and what's 70 going to be like?
Right.
And so that really frightened me. And that's when I decided I had to do something, but I had to do something that would be doable.
Right.
So it took every bit of 6 months for my body to start trusting to
Yeah.
release
Right.
that weight.
Do you feel like, because like you said earlier, that when the student's ready, the teacher appears, do you feel like you were just finally at a place that your intuition said, this is my next step? It like you saw the intermittent fasting stuff and people could see it and go, yeah, that's not for me. But you felt
I was compelled.
Something, right?
I knew this was the answer for me.
That feeling was what was helping you through your 6 months of not seeing the gratification, the results that you would really wanted to see, that there was a feeling that just said, that's okay, stay with this because there's something here?
Absolutely. It was a spiritual answer.
Yeah.
And it was, again, a spiritual journey.
Yeah.
And another piece of the puzzle.
Right.
That I had to blindly have faith.
Right.
That this is what was going to work
Beautiful.
for me. All right. And so this is how I started. I started with just a 12-hour fast. Nothing big. And most of us do all that.
Sleeping.
Sleeping. That's right. So, and fasting, we know, has been here since the biblical times.
Right.
And so that's where I began. And I listened to a lot of Dr. Berg on his YouTube channels.
Okay.
He has free like 2,000 different videos on there. And he talked about just push it forward. All right, that's 12 hours. Can you go 14 hours?
Wow.
Do that for a week, 2 weeks. How does your body feel? This was an experiment of one.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
I was finally learning how my body works and chemically reacts. You see, I wanted
But you're
to...
gentle with your body too. Like you're allowing yourself to go at your own pace, but say, body, trust me. I'm doing this.
That's right. And thank God for that. I needed to wrap myself in love.
Yeah. So
I
important.
needed to understand that this was not another thing to beat myself and fail at.
Right.
This was something that is chemical.
Right. You weren't doing it to yourself. You were doing it for yourself.
The
Yes.
chemistry behind it, the science behind it, I delved right into it. Being a health coach, that's what I love to do. I read everything I could,
Perfect.
watched every video I could, so I push it to 14. I remember when I did 16-hour fast, it was like, oh, wow. Okay, and I stayed there for like 30 days. And I wrote it all in my journal. And then that's when they said, if you're not losing weight, you need an 18-hour fast. And that's when then I pushed it. So you see, my body was acclimating.
Yeah.
I wasn't starving. I wasn't shaking hungry. When I was hungry, I opened my window, I ate what I wanted, and then I closed my window. So when I would have an 18-hour fast, you eat for 6 hours.
Wow.
All
Now,
right.
how does that look? Are you binging?
Yeah. No.
Or are you just eating when you're hungry?
You eat when you're hungry and you stop when you're full. You listen to your body. What a concept.
Right.
Listen to your body. Are you full? Am I full? Yes, I'm full. Sometimes, yes, I'm stuffed. Okay. But because I was fasting, I wanted to make sure I had my salad. I wanted to make sure I had my vegetables.
Right.
I took my vitamins.
Right.
I did good, healthy things for
Do you take the vitamins during the window, or do you take it also during the fasting part?
I take my vitamins when I wake up. And if you have medication to take or anything like that, you could take it with water. Okay. If you have to have food with it, then wait till your window opens and then eat your food and then
That's a
take
good
your
point.
medication.
Like, what if somebody has to take medicine every 6 hours or something like that, and they need to take it with food?
Absolutely.
Does that ruin the fast of that?
The thing is either if you're eating food, you're not fasting.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
So when you start eating, you're not fasting.
A lot of things, though, straighten out as you get healthier anyway.
That's
so,
right. That's
yeah.
right.
So
and,
stay tuned.
And you want
Yeah.
and you want to do better. A lot of what happened was no more pre-diabetes, no more medication, all right? No more brain fog. I remember waking up and it's like I'm up and I'm rested and I felt good. No more heartburn. All right? No more achy joints
Right.
that hurt so bad.
Right.
What a difference my body felt.
What a difference anyway, because
Yeah.
even mentally, like to not have to think about food, to not have to, what am I going to eat? What am I going to eat? Am I really hungry right now? Should I really do this? Da, 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 da. It's like to get your head out of the food, to have a break
Yes.
from food, from having to eat and whatever like that, and to be able to know the body will stop freaking out because it knows, oh, that's okay, because she's going to eat after this amount of hours, and we'll be able to give her all the signals, all that we need, and we'll be able to
Absolutely.
deal with all that. And then when she closes her window, we have a break again. And the body actually needs a break from eating
Absolutely, and
so that
that's
it
what
can
I found
heal.
out.
Yeah.
This is when I close my window at night, this is when my digestion is working, my liver is cleaning out toxins, bile is going into
Right.
my intestine, everything is being
Muscles
cleared
are being
out.
regenerated.
That's right. Inflammation is
Going
coming
down.
My face started to change. It was like, who are you?
Yeah.
I'm looking, and I'm like,
Yeah.
people are telling me, Angie, you look younger.
Yeah, you do look
Then
good.
I started reading about autophagy. What the heck is autophagy? Well, this
What is that?
Yeah, this is a real thing. This doctor, I don't know his name right now, but I could get it for you if you want it. But he discovered autophagy a couple years ago and won the Nobel Prize
And what is
over
it?
And autophagy is when you're fasting over 18 hours, this cells start eating and cleaning up all the trash in your system. Any dead cells, any cancer cells, any aging cells.
I could so see that.
It's like a vacuum cleaner.
I can
and
see
it
that.
goes in. And that's called
Because people who
autophagy.
have like really heavy chronic illnesses oftentimes have found that when they go on a fast and a doctor watched long fast, that way they just have water, that their body ends up, all the energy that was being used for digesting is now being freed up so that the body can actually just focus on healing. And it's amazing when the body doesn't have to digest and focus on that. A lot of the things that people eat too can be quite toxic to the body. And so the body gets immune stimulated from some of the foods that we eat. And so now it has a break on two levels, right? It doesn't have to digest, and it doesn't have to worry about what it's going to do with this, quarantining this. The intestines can heal so that they're more likely to be able to absorb nutrients when you do eat again. I mean, there's a whole thing that happens with that, with being able to give your body a break.
I started doing so I could kind of, once I was 18 hours fasting, that's when I started fasting every other day.
Okay.
All right. I started fast. They call it 3-2 and 5-2. So what I would do is Monday and Wednesday, I would eat only 500 calorie fast,
Okay.
and the next day I would feed.
Okay.
I would eat just normal. All right. And that's when I started to really lose the weight and feel even better. The autophagy was happening. The inflammation was going down. You know, as we get older, our stomach we become like apples.
Yeah.
And especially after menopause with
Yeah.
hormones and everything.
If we've been doing this stuff, like we we said earlier, we can turn this around at any age. I mean,
I'm
look at you,
living
you're
proof.
beautiful, you're 69 years old.
I'm
you're
living proof of it.
vivacious, so full of energy. You've always been full of
Let me
energy.
tell
but
you,
wow,
I
you're
just
like
got
much
home.
more lit up now
Yeah.
than even I've known you for several years. So yeah.
I just got home from Thanksgiving in Ohio.
Okay.
And let me tell you, I was out to dinner. I went to a wedding. Oh, my God, the cookie table was fabulous. All right. I was fasting like maybe 18 to 20 hours
Wow.
every day.
Okay.
But when my window opened, I feasted.
Yes.
And I delayed, but I did not deny.
Yeah.
And when I got home this morning, Thanksgiving, you talk about,
Right.
I was 2 pounds down.
Nice.
All right.
So how much weight did you lose then?
Yes, so I got to my goal weight was 165.
Okay.
And I kind of go from 165, 166, 167. This morning I was 166, and then I'll go down to maybe 163. I kind of hover.
Right.
But the
you feel
wonderful
so
news
good.
is
Yeah.
when I see it going back up, I don't abandon ship.
Right.
I don't say, "Oh, this
That's
isn't
just
working."
part of it. 'Cause
Oh,
it's
I'm
water
no
weight
good of a
too.
person.
Yeah.
I'm a disgrace. Oh my God, that
God.
voice doesn't. No,
I hate that.
You know
that
what to do.
headspace. I remember that too. It's God.
Yes.
God. You know, geez, you'd be amazed how much you think of these things and how your head talks to you. Okay, so now you've been doing this, you've been having great success, you've found what works for you.
Yes.
And now, because of all of your experience in your recovery and understanding the headspace that people are in, but also going to, learning about nutrition and then diving in and learning everything you can about intermittent fasting and recognizing that it's not the panacea, it's not the save-all, it is a tool, and if it is rightly used and it's right for that person, it could be an amazingly powerful tool. But so now, how does somebody reach you? Because you're so passionate and you are so focused on really, without any shaming, armed with the information from both mind and body to be able to talk to another person at any age,
Yes.
at any level of anything, whether they're curious about it or whether or not they've maybe tried intermittent fasting and maybe they need somebody to talk to about it. Plus stuff comes up when you start to do this that maybe hasn't been healed, and you could be that person to help them, right? To talk
That's
to.
right.
So
that's right. And
how does somebody
we
contact
talk
you
about
for
those
that?
things. Yes. My number is 330-360-2444. My email is ajfree85@aol.com, and I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, Shopping and Chopping for Health.
Oh, that's awesome.
I take people to the grocery store. I found out that so many people, including myself, I wanted to do something different. I didn't know where to begin.
Right.
People go into the grocery store, they don't know what to choose. I'll take you all through. We'll go through everything. I'll come to your house.
Right.
We'll go through your cupboards. This isn't about shaming, like you said. It's
Yeah.
not about blaming.
Education.
It's about education. It's about science. It's about
Support.
changing yourself and having that support to do it. It's not just changing what's on the end of your fork. It's changing what's between your ears also. And that's where my expertise comes in. I believe, and don't do what I say. Do what I do.
Right.
Let me teach you what works.
Yeah, so
Yes.
beautiful. So thank you so much
Yes.
for joining us. Oh my God, I'm so happy to. I've been watching you. I knew you before you started doing intermittent fasting. I remember when you came into the recovery store and we had that one conversation where I was like, "You look really good. What's going on with you?" And you started sharing, "Oh my God, I'm doing this now, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, "Whoa." And I'm like, "Could I do that? What does that entail? Oh my God, I've hypoglycemia." Da, 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 da. And I was just like, "Oh my God." But that's what happens, I have found, in recovery from anything, is that people notice changes in you and they're attracted to it. And if just like when the pupil became ready for the teacher, when you were ready in your evolution of your healing for intermittent fasting to be your tool, right? There are people that will hear this and think maybe that's good for me too. And not a lot of people want to go and research all the things and read all the books. And some
There you
people
go.
have little kids, or they have a busy job, or they don't want to read. They don't want to do that. To be able to have somebody for the support and
That's
the
what I
hand
love
holding.
about it. It's hands-on.
Yeah.
You don't like to cook? I'll teach you how to
Yeah,
cook.
right.
I could come and cook for you. I'm
Yeah.
a fabulous cook. I'm
Yeah.
Italian. I make everything.
Yeah.
But we can do this.
Right.
Together, we could do anything.
So wherever you're at in your journey, just love yourself where you're at, but love yourself enough to not leave yourself there. This is a one step at a time thing, one day at a time thing, and when we put one foot in front of the other, we heal. We heal together, and we heal from all the programming and all the bad behaviors that we thought, nah, they're not so bad, but we were not seeing the results that we wanted. Our life can incrementally, one step at a time, be better. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad.
Thank you. This was great.
Thank you for joining us today on The Real Recovery Show. We'd like to give a special thanks to our sponsor and gracious host, PHLV Radio, here in Las Vegas. See you next week.